Oh, hello, veterans, aka VA employees, everybody watching. Welcome to the VeteranLing YouTube channel. I am your friendly VA accredited Matt Lang, as always. Hey, this channel was originally designed and still serves the purpose of educating. We want to educate about VA benefits. The ultimate mission and goal is to make a process smoother between veterans and VA alike, to the point where, hey, if you look at me and go, we don't need you anymore, I am excited, because that means we accomplished that goal and we help fix part of the problem here, if not the whole problem. To do this channel, I run this from my law firm, Lang's Legal. I am licensed to practice law in Arizona and New Mexico. When it comes to VA, though, is a federal benefit. So we have veterans across the nation. We help here. We are still a small team, but we are mighty, and we will help state law stuff in Arizona and New Mexico for veterans, and again, the VA stuff nationwide. If you're interested in seeing what we do, more about that can be on our web pages. I've got veteranlang.com, which is our veteran website for the VA benefits portion of everything. Again, a heavy focus on compensation, the disability stuff, because that's a lot of the focus that we have back here, and the biggest workload. We'll begin to add more, but what we've done is we've updated the page from its original page. You're going to find a little learning center there now to help add in some additional information you can find and utilize there, veterans, to help within your claims. And you're going to find a new disability calculator to figure out what your percentage is, how much you would get paid per year, per month, whether you have dependents or not, and how that affects the monetary amount. So check that out too. That's a tool I'm throwing out there for free. I want you to use it, veterans. I want you to go to it. I want you to utilize it. If you don't utilize anything else, utilize the tools that we provide you, because I want to help you even complete your claims on your own if you so desire to. So you're going to find that there. langslegal.com is our second page that's more focused on these two states of Arizona and New Mexico, of what we do there. So you can always go there, check that out. You can go to either page. If you happen to land on either page, they do link to each other, so you eventually find where that crosses. But do know we got both pages out there, serving the same purpose of helping veterans, just one more veteran focused and one more state focused. So today's topic, what I want to do today is I sit back here and I tell veterans all the time, I go, our setup is designed to try to take as much stress off of you as we can, veterans, in this process. This is a very stressful process. Should it be a stressful process? No, I don't believe so. But it is. It's become that. And I think it gets more stressful the more errors that we see, the more mistakes we see, and just the craziness, we'll call it, that seems to be coming out of the government and out of the system and out of the VA, just in general. So I usually sit back here and I go, hey, here is how you can understand the rule, or here's new things coming up and how that might affect things. And today I want to take, I got a small list of errors, common errors that I've seen multiple times, and things that I am concerned about, because I'm watching these errors get worse month after month, year after year. I originally started with the VA, and when I started with the VA in 2008, I've got that there to compare to what I see now, and I'm going, wow, totally different system, and not in probably the best of ways, in my professional opinion. It's not looking good. Now, I always keep in mind, though, that there are great people in the VA system. There is a great mission, and there's definitely a lot that are there to help. And then a lot of veterans will run into those individuals and get some really good help. So I do know that's there, but I don't want the bad help that is creating all these errors to be what ultimately overtakes the system. So I want to put some awareness out there today. I want to give you this short list of errors here. I'm going to do my best to not keep my opinion, or do my best to keep my opinion out of them, keep my opinion in them. That's what I feel like I've been doing as I keep recording these videos. It's not supposed to be opinion related. It's supposed to educate. And so that's what I'm going to work on in this video. I'm going to give you some errors I normally see, or that I have seen, and some of the concerns and the way I perceive them from my experience, in the idea of why they might be occurring. And I want to give a solution too. I don't want to just give a problem and just complain about the problem. We always want to give the solution as well. And so VA, this video is going to be mostly for you. But veterans, I think you're going to be able to relate to a lot of what I'm going to say here and what I'm seeing, and so if you have ideas for solutions, throw them in the comments as well. Let's see if we can make something come together and work here together between VA veterans and themselves for that better process. So let's get down to it. Here's error number one. Error number one. This one is definitely one of the more frustrating ones. Veterans, in your decisions, the VA is going to make an attempt to address each element somehow of the law as to why you're denied, let's say. So let's say you get denied. Let's say you have a current diagnosis. Let's say you had something in service. Well, what's going to happen is you're going to go to an examiner, whether it be a VA examiner or a VA contract examiner, as the VA may send you one in-house or to that contractor. They're going to render an opinion in the background. You're usually not going to see it unless you ask for a FOIA request, and good luck there, because I hear it takes, in many cases, months. Maybe you're one of the lucky ones again, but there's going to be an opinion is the point in the background. This opinion is to handle that nexus element. Now, there's a bunch of errors usually in these opinions, concerns of training, concerns of whether that professional is qualified or not to be doing that kind of opinion, sure. But the error I want to talk about is what occurs inside the decision. So this RVSR or DRO is likely going to take and copy and paste a lot of that opinion, if not the whole thing, into your decision, veterans, in many cases. Now, not a problem there, because I remember being trained to do so and doing that myself when I decided claims for the VA, because there was a couple different things you were trying to accomplish there. One, you wanted to inform the veteran, hey, look, this is what the opinion was, since you're not going to see the opinion. Another thing would have been, hey, I don't want to paraphrase what was said and be wrong or say something incorrectly or misunderstand it and re-paraphrase it and just give you bad information. So we don't want to do that. And I would say the last thing I can think of right now is the idea that it was just the ease of it all. It was quicker to copy and paste that into the decision, so we could give those decisions out faster when there was this problems of backlog and claims not moving fast enough. But I think this becomes part of the problem is maybe we're moving too fast inside the VA sometimes, and we're getting too focused in on numbers of backlog and so forth. So when we copy and paste, I don't think we're reading what we're copying and pasting, because I'm seeing this error too much. And here's what it is. It'll say something along the line of the decision where, hey, your VA decision, or I'm sorry, let me back up. The VA examiner says that that your condition is not related to your service, or it's less likely than not related to your service. And here's what they said. So ultimately, what the VA is trying to say, and whatever those terms are that they're going to use, is that there's no nexus element, because the examiner said, yeah, there's no nexus element. They gave a negative medical opinion. And then what we find is pasted an opinion that says, yes, the two are linked. Yes, it is at least as likely as not that the veteran's claim condition is related to their service. And then the claim gets denied. That's an extremely common issue we've seen. I don't know if it's really understood how bad this error really is, because while it may seem harmless, I just copy and paste the wrong thing, no big deal. You've added, I would say, from what I'm seeing back here, 4 to 6 months to that claim again. Now it's got to go back through an appeals process. Sometimes we try to just reach out to the VA office and go, hey, can you just make a quick fix on this really quick? And so the veteran doesn't have to sit for another 6 months and wait in an appeal process. And I've actually had offices tell me very politely well, screw off, you can just appeal the claim, which is kind of disturbing too. So that's the error. So I think if we slowed down, we reread what we pasted in there, what we write, and we actually write and review the evidence in its entirety, we would definitely save some time ultimately on the claims and wouldn't have as many backlogged. Number 2 here is very similar. It comes from the decision as well. We'll see stuff where it says like the service treatment records were silent, or the service treatment records not show a complaint, treatment, or diagnosis of your condition. And that's what we'll see on there. Veterans will ultimately VA saying, hey, there was nothing in your service treatment records to show that this condition existed. Now, there's a bunch of other problems with this line and this conclusion, but I want to focus in on one piece here. What'll happen is I'll read that in a decision, and then I'll go back and I'll do what the VA should have done in this case, or that individual anyway should have done. And I'm going to read through the evidence, because that's what we do. We read the evidence, we go through the documents, we go through page by page, we look through it line by line, and we do this more than once. And then what happens when I find a decision that says that there is nothing in the STRs, nothing in the service treatment records, no document of your condition, and when I open up the first page of the STRs, and it's documented, and then it's documented on the next 5 pages, it only tells me that somebody did not open the evidence. Somebody didn't look at anything in that claim. And this is only one way I can tell that. And I can tell from other ways that many times the denials occur because no one's paying attention to what's in the evidence. That's very frustrating. That delays the claim too, because now duty to assist failed. Things like, say, a VA examination that should have probably got scheduled didn't get scheduled. Likely now the veteran's got to appeal again, and then it's got to go back on appeal, and then the problem is you've got to get the exam again, so that's going to delay everything even longer now. It just delays the claim. It's an unnecessary delay when the issue could have been corrected right away by just opening the evidence and looking at it. So I would say VA, there was a time we were trying to read everything word by word, page by page. I know that went away after a while, but I think for your solution, you gotta get back to that. You have to start reading stuff. You've got to look things over. And I know we got these AI tools out there, but you still have to look at stuff. These tools are not perfect. They can't read every bit of handwriting either. They miss stuff and they hallucinate. You still have to go back through with your 2 or 4 eyes here and actually look at those documents. Because if you don't, all you've done is delayed a claim, and you've really just pushed another claim into your appeals backlog. Now you've just added a bunch more to the mix. You've just recycled it around, made somebody else's life busy, and stress out the veteran some more. We don't need that. Here's another one we run into here. I am actually very concerned about our VA examiners, mainly our contract ones, but our VA examiners as well. We see a lot of contract exams anymore across the nation. I don't know if we have the best qualified. And now that's my professional opinion. I'm going to leave it at that. There are some good ones out there. Again, I see a lot of good ones too. But the errors that I see usually involve the exam. There's a lot of errors that occur in the exam. But I will see canned text that's being used by nurses, MDs, PAs, physicians of all sorts across the nation, which tells me that likely the VA is giving them a text to use, or the contract company is using that same text for all their physicians, and there's probably some sort of lack of training, and they're just being told, here, push this out as quick as you can. We got some money to make. I don't know. I'm making an assumption there. Not a good idea on my part. But if that is the problem, yeah, let's slow down. Let's fix this issue here. Let's get some more training in there. Let's have professionals who, they're skilled at what they do and actually understand the stuff. Because what we're finding is we'll read medical opinions that say, especially on secondaries, that there's no medical literature to support a connection between the two conditions. But there is, and there's a abundance of it. That becomes an inadequate exam, and when the decision maker just copies and pastes, it doesn't read it or doesn't go, hey, well, I know that's not right because I was reading an article the other day. Well, then they just move the claim along, and then what happens? Well, now I've got to go ask for an appeal, and here's usually what this looks like for us. Now we've tried other angles too. Go to HLR at this point. Now, what's happening? Well, HLR may take about 100 days or plus for national work queue. The individuals in DC just send the claim out to an office. Remember, we only got about 3 offices that handle these HLRs across the whole nation, so they get busy too. So the more HLRs that keep pumping in there, the bigger this backlog gets, and maybe a concern for more errors. But the idea is that you now got to wait for that. And then when the claim does get pushed out, now you're looking at the idea that the claim's got to go down to a supplemental claim lane because, well, the HLR can't develop for a proper exam, and they've got to call a duty to assist error, assuming they do that correct too. But again, that's another error. Now, that goes back down some of the claim, then they get the exam, so we're already over 100 days in it. The exam request goes in, we're already probably at another 90 days there. 190 days, 200 days later, we will get a decision. For what? For something that could have been fixed in 30 days instead of 90 days, 190 days? I mean, again, it's just delaying the claim. Now, some of you are probably asking, why don't you push it back to some other claim? Well, because we end up with another error there. That's not on my sheet, but we'll talk about some other time. Where VA really struggles with that idea. So that's what it is at this point. But anyways, we do see that. We'll see that there. So, we don't just accept the errors. We want to fix them. So things that I have done is change strategies. I've changed what we submit. I've changed how we submit things. I've changed wording. I've changed my focus into tried teaching what we're looking at. Hey, if you tell me there's no literature out there, but I'm looking at 20 different articles that are peer reviewed and are publicly listed out there that says otherwise, then yeah, I want you, physician, to understand that. I'm not here to tell you how to do your job because I'm not a physician, but I want you to understand that there is literature out there. So we have put together research on cases before. We have compiled that research and we have submitted it. I have submitted research papers of 30 to 50 pages. And maybe that's my problem. Maybe it's too long. Maybe that's something else I have to adjust. But I will give all the citations in my work of all the peer review articles in medical journals and studies. And I'll line it up with the facts of the veteran's case. It's not just generalized. It's not just going, oh, well, generally this could be the case. No, this is all studies that line up with the veteran's facts of their case. This takes a lot of time, which is fine. We want to make sure it gets done right. But then what we find is, well, it seems like those examiners adjust as well to how we respond to them. And then what we get back is errors saying, oh, well, there's not enough medical literature. Come on. And that's the conclusion. That's it. You don't just explain what your literature is that counters my literature. I mean, I gave you 30 to 50 pages. You've given me one sentence. I think we got to quit being lazy. I think we just need, it sounds like a training issue, perhaps VA. I would say that's where to start for a solution on that problem. But that delays the claim then too, because now again, we're back in that cycle of appealing and arguing over stuff that we don't need to argue about. It's very clear that something isn't right here. I thought there were some quality controls on the medical contractors, but I'm not seeing as such. So maybe we figure out how to put some sort of proper control in there. I don't know. That might be a thought too for a solution. So that's another error that we see fairly commonly here. Here, let's go back to the VA side. Inside the VA, the Veteran Service Veteran Service Representative, the VSR here, we see mistakes there too. Now, these are for those who don't know, the VSR is that individual who's at the front, supposed to develop the claim and supposed to, veterans help you along the way to the point that the law allows them to, because they do still have a fiduciary duty to the government. So these are the ones that basically put the claim together to make sure it's ready to go for the decision maker, whether that be an RVSR or a DRO, before they send it over for that decision review. But we'll see stuff like this. We'll see veterans. Let's say you get a denial. You get a denial in the mail. You're gonna get this packet of stuff. Inside this packet, you're gonna have a letter that's gonna give you a bunch of information and stuff there. You're even inside though. You're gonna have a handout. It's an insert in there that is a nice little diagram that explains the the appeal process in the fact that you have the choices of supplemental claim, a higher level review, or straight to the Board of Appeals. The letter that they send you will tell you you have those options to appeal with. And then so what we'll do, so let's say veterans, you're a veteran we're representing, and that's your case here with us. Well, let's say we run into the idea that, well, there was a thought that the VA already had some evidence, or maybe we didn't even think about some evidence in our conversation, or it didn't come out. And we realize that this evidence exists after the fact. So we need to appeal the claim. And what we're going to do is we're going to appeal with the supplemental claim. Why? Because when you look at that diagram, it'll tell you that outside of the supplemental claim, the only other way to go with new evidence is the Board of Veterans' Appeals evidence docket. So you have to submit a supplemental claim according to the VA's own handouts with new evidence. And we submit this new evidence. And then what we get from the VSR is a letter that says, veterans, you must appeal on a proper form. Hey, VA, your own packet tells us that that's a proper form. Why are we getting a letter saying that the veteran didn't appeal on the proper form? It's on the proper form. We'll see that stuff all the time. It's just crazy how often I see that. I don't know what generates that inside the system. I know people would probably want to blame AI, but I'm not convinced on that because of certain things I see in the letter. I think these are people, again, not understanding the basic rules of the job that they're holding, and they're kicking out letters. Or I've also seen it from working inside the VA where people will just generate something just to get their production point that day and get it off their desk. So I don't know if that's the case here, but we'll see this all the time where there'll be a claim, something's not on a proper form, and it's on the proper form. It's on the proper form. So that's definitely another error we see a lot of. Let's move on to the next one here. Here's one veterans you may not realize or notice as much because it really occurs in the back end of everything. So as a VA accredited attorney, we're allowed to bill for appeal work. We'll bill here locally 20% typically. Now, there's a contingency, 20% contingency. Now, there's other rules and laws that allow me to do that a little differently, but we're staying with the basic idea of the 20% contingency because if that's what we file with the VA, then we're asking the VA to pay the bill. I like to do it that way. One, because it gives more of affordability for veterans who can't pay anything up front or over time or hourly or even large flat fees. But it also puts the VA in a position where they've got to pay us and then we argue with the VA over the amount. And so veterans, you don't have to have that extra stress of making sure we're paid, how much do we owe you, when to make sure that check comes and all that. So when our fee agreement is eligible, now it's not eligible on every type of claim, by the way, like a new claim or an increased claim, but when it becomes eligible and the VA goes to determine that eligibility, there's a fee letter, fee allocation letter that will come out from the VA. And I don't know why we're not reading things still, because I would say probably 8 out of 10 of these letters are missing paragraphs, not like a word or a sentence, but paragraphs. So when you look at that letter, the beginning part of that letter will give you a quick summary of what that decision was that was made. And then there's supposed to be more information right there in that first section, another paragraph that explains what the fee is that's being paid out, if one is being paid out. If one's not being paid out, it's supposed to explain there was no fee that was eligible and why. We will literally see whole blank sections, like just somebody just didn't type at all or didn't click a button. Whole sections, whole paragraphs are missing. So we, as in us and the veteran, would not have any idea by looking at that letter if a fee was eligible, if it was paid, why it was paid, why it wasn't paid, because there's no information at all. I think this goes back to the idea of we need to read what we have before we put it out so we can fix those mistakes. Because I'm seeing that mistake in, like I said, almost probably I'm 8 out of 10. I'm going to say 8 out of 10 letters. It's fairly common. It's just missing. It's totally missing. It's like I don't know. It's like somebody didn't know they needed to put it there, or they got lazy. I'm not really sure. But if it happened once, twice, I could see that. But to happen that so many times, yeah, something's wrong. So I would say the solution is go back, slow down, look at it, make sure that information landed in there. Is it there? Does the letter reflect what it's supposed to reflect? Does it make sense? Read the letter yourself, VA. Does it make sense? I got here's another one. Veterans, if you hit 30% or more on your VA compensation benefits, your service connected compensation benefits, you can be paid an additional amount for your dependents. We've seen this more than once, which is really concerning as well. It makes me wonder, again, if the VA understands the basic workings sometimes for some of those individuals. I keep saying VA as a whole, but it's not the whole VA here. There's, again, great people that work there, very, very smart people, and ones that care. But I don't know how we're getting to the idea that we don't know how to read a VA form when you work for the VA. These are your forms, VA. These are your forms. So maybe I'm doing something wrong in creating this letter. I don't think so, from all of my experience. But if so, VA, throw it in the comment box. Help us all out, because if I'm doing this, I'm pretty sure somebody else is too, if this is on our side. But I don't think it is. So what happens, veterans, is when you're eligible for that dependent, let's say you have a spouse or child, both, or whatnot. You fill out this VA form 21-686C, unless you do it online at the va.gov. But if you fill out the form is a multiple page form. You get your information up on top and so forth, just like all the other forms. Then you go down to your spousal information. There's probably a bunch of blank pages in between there just because of all the history and stuff it's asking that may not apply to you. Then you get down to the next section and you have the dependency issue of children. So if you have children that are minor children living at home, then, or you pay 50% of their support too, you can list them in there. Well, the box asks for the child's name and some other information about the child. But now, one thing the box does not ask for, the boxes down there in the questions don't ask for specifically the current address of the child, unless they're living with somebody besides the veteran. So the actual form itself says only has a spot for address if the child is not living with the veteran. So keep that in mind. The idea is that if that information is blank, then based upon the VA's own form, it is supposed to be blank because the child's living with the veteran. Because if the child was living with the veteran, well, that's not the question. The question is if they're not living with the veteran. So nothing would be there if they're living with the veteran, right? We got that? Because I don't know why, when we leave it blank, because we're supposed to, according to the way the question's worded, we get this letter back and the claim gets closed because VA says, well, we received your application to apply for dependency, but the form was incomplete because it didn't state whether the child lived with you or not. Therefore, we can't work your claim. I'm not sure here, VA, but it is your form. The question is worded if they don't live with the veteran, then put an address. There is no question in the form underneath the name of the child or in the section for the child that says what is the child's current address so you can match it to the veteran's address. If the box is blank, then the question is answered. Yes, the child lives with the veteran. So to send the veteran a letter or even us a letter that says we couldn't process that claim because you didn't identify if they live with if the child lived with the veteran when we did by not answering the question, what more do you want from us here? Again, you ultimately delay a claim. Again, these are claims that have taken, I've seen, months and years to handle, and now you've closed it off, dismissed it because I get the impression you don't know what your own form means or says, or how to interpret your own form. So, hey, training. My recommendation. Hey, train people. Double check this. If anybody's about to close a claim, maybe you need somebody above to say, hey, you're not allowed to close a claim until we double check what you're sending out is accurate. Maybe you need that additional check in the process. And if you already have it, then we got bigger problems because if 2 or 3 people are touching this and looking at this and doing the same thing, and maybe we just need to train train the whole group of everybody. I don't know. I think it's a training issue at this point. So that's my suggestion there. That's another one we see, though. That's another one we see. And like I said, this is gonna be a long video, guys. So I hope you're holding out with me here. I'm almost done. I only picked 9 out of the what feels like a million of errors we have here. Number 7 here on my list. Number 7. Oh, we go back to that form issue again with the VSR. So I really feel like that the VA does not know what forms they're supposed to use. It's spelled out in your M21 in a table and everything. So that kills me. It's really easy to read. Here's what we'll get. Well, that in your form in this case actually needs some work, and you're working on this form, so I'll pull back. I'll pull back a little bit on this one. This one actually, as I look back again, I thought this was something else, so I apologize there. But when I look at this one, when you look at the 526EZ, the VA Form 21-526EZ, the boxes in there are too small to write anything or explain anything that they're asking. So a lot of times what we end up doing is if we have, say, for example, sleep apnea secondary to PTSD, secondary to rhinitis, secondary sinusitis, secondary asthma, because the veteran has all these conditions. Now that's just a crazy scenario. That probably doesn't happen that often, but the idea is there's something secondary. So let's say if it's even sleep apnea secondary PTSD, sure, you can abbreviate those and it'll fit the box. But I want you to get to the point out that there could be multiple secondaries, so they all don't fit in the box. So on the form, you have a column that says issues with these little boxes to fill in an issue that doesn't fit. And then you start having these other columns that talk about how it occurred in service and when it first started and everything else. But again, these boxes are so small, you can't put any detail in them. So they're really kind of pointless, in my professional opinion there. And so what happens is when you're trying to fill up something like sleep apnea secondary to sinusitis, rhinitis, PTSD, asthma, all this stuff, you have to make a decision. Do I make it look funky going all the way across the document, which is what we've started doing now? Because apparently when you word it down, the issue box, and it keeps going, VA, you take it as a claim for sleep apnea, sinusitis, rhinitis, PTSD, and asthma, even though all we claimed was sleep apnea, secondary to all those service-connected conditions. That might just be an error in the form, so I might give you that one, but I see that so often that we're constantly changing how we're writing stuff on there. So I think this one in here I'm really putting out there because if anybody's got a suggestion on how they do this, VA, especially how you'd like to see this, right now with the form you got that just is not very functional, I would love you to put in the comments because I really want to make sure we get this right and together, and we get this these where they don't get kicked back, so veterans can actually get what they are supposed to. Because I've also get it where you put it, you start processing claims that don't exist, so you're wasting your own time, and you're wasting money on exams because you're requesting exams that don't need to be requested because again these are claims that don't exist. Because I just tried to make it secondary to a bunch of stuff, but didn't have enough room on the little box, and I had to put it in other boxes. So it's another one. It's another one. That one I think we can work on together for sure. All right, two more left here for our video here that I've got. Here's another one that I've seen. VA. There's so many things I've seen when I worked inside the system, inside the government, helping out veterans, that you've never really fully understood, and I don't feel you understand today, and I'm pretty sure you don't in some cases. And I say it as a whole, so I think it's more of a training issue. I think there's just not because the people are bad, but I think it's because they don't understand. And then I think we're back to the idea that we're not fully paying attention again to what's in the record and what the evidence shows and what it says. And maybe we're relying on somebody else to tell us these days. I don't think VA is really using as much AI as people are trying to say they are, that VA wants you to believe they are, because I feel like that's a scapegoat kind of thing, use AI as a scapegoat. But I've watched so many years inside the VA of people not review evidence and just kick out stuff and just review like one page or something and then just list everything like they did. So I know this happens. But here's the error that it has occurred in this example here, besides some of the other ones we've talked about. VA, you will have to do a character of discharge sometimes. for a veteran, because while the veteran may be dishonorably discharged from service, you may still, underneath your rules, find that veteran honorable for VA purposes. So if a veteran, if you're not honorably discharged in some honorable character there from service, it's likely that you're going to have this character discharge done by the VA, especially other than honorable, dishonorable, and I think those are the two main ones. But without going into a lot of detail, I think you get the point. So this character discharge occurs. Sometimes veterans, you have more than one period of service. And so you'll have an honorable period of service, and maybe you'll have a dishonorable period of service. Well, VA doesn't have to do a character discharge on the honorable period of service because, well, they have no authority underneath the rules to change the character of discharge from an honorable to a dishonorable. They don't have any authority at that point to change what the Department of Defense or the military has determined. If the veteran's honorable, they're honorable. The only thing they have the authority to do is for their own purposes to say, we don't fully agree with the military branches or the DOD at this point when it comes to the dishonorable discharge, so we're going to make you only honorable for VA purposes. So again, if you're honorable, you're honorable. That VA has no authority over. But however, I have seen in these character discharges, again, evidence not being reviewed, and I will see VA where you take an honorable period and a dishonorable period, make it all dishonorable for VA purposes. You can't do that. You are not allowed to go out and make a veteran who's honorable for honorable service dishonorable. And then we're back here fighting because we're trying to find somebody that's going to fix the problem. And that's a whole other story. I won't get on that soapbox. But I got some offices that are helpful, and I got a good chunk of them who just don't want to. We'll leave that one alone. Anyhow, but that's the other error we've seen more than once is like you do a character of discharge, but you do it where you make the veteran dishonorable and honorable on some periods. I'm like, just it's about reading, it's about training and understanding. Again, here. All right, I saved the last one here. I saved the last one just for the fun of it. This one I've only actually seen once. It's not one that's happened a bunch of times. But I point this out, even though it's only happened once, because what I usually experience back here is when it does happen once, it happens again and again and again, it starts to grow. So I'm going to nip this one in the butt quick, because this one, I take that back. I've seen this twice in 5 years, actually. This one here can really slow a claim down and will really frustrate a lot of people, including the veteran. And myself in this case, and whoever's on the other end of my letters at the VA. Here's what happens, veterans. When you come to us and we decide we can represent you, and we agree in our representation here, you say yes, I want you to help me out, and we say great, we're here for you. We got to fill out a VA form 21-22A. Now, this is our version of the form that says we're an authorized representative, we're an accredited representative, and that we're there to represent you, veterans. You may also see a VA form 21-22, which is usually the VSOs will use. That's their version. So you do have two versions out there. But the point is, if somebody is accredited, they have to be accredited, one, to represent you underneath the federal law. And if they are, then they should be filling out these 21-22s or 21-22As, depending on the situation here. Filing that with the VA, because that tells the VA that an accredited representative is now on record and that the VA can talk to that representative if they so desire at this point. And that we get access to your VA file, veterans, so we can see all the documents and review everything and help you out with the strategy and getting the grant where the evidence approves the grant. So what's interesting is I had done all this paperwork like we normally do. I filed this over to the VA. It's 21-22A. And about a week later, record time, really. Record time. We don't usually get mail that fast, nor do we get anybody to look at the 2122 that quick. But a week later, I get this letter from the VA. And so does the veteran. The letter says that we received your request to have Attorney Matthew Lang represent you on your VA claim. However, they are not VA accredited, so therefore they cannot represent you on your claim. But you can go at it by yourself, but we would recommend that you get a representative. And in order to find an accredited representative, here's the website. The Office of General Counsel website is the address they gave with the accreditation search. So you can find an accredited rep near you. I don't know how many of you picked up the problem already. I've been accredited for nearly 5 years with the VA. I'm still accredited. By the way, I checked before the video, make sure some weird, funky thing else didn't happen. And did you know that website that VSR threw in that letter to check for accreditation? If you put my name in it, yep, sure enough, my information pops up as an accredited individual. Yeah. So now the file is being delayed. I have to refile a bunch of stuff. I've sent emails now to VA offices and hoping that somebody says, oh, we better fix that problem quickly because now the claim's getting delayed when it shouldn't be delayed, because now I can't see the claim and now I can't even talk to the VA until they're willing to talk to me because, I'm an accredited attorney and all with the VA. So yeah, that was very frustrating to see. I'm really hoping this one doesn't happen again, because it does. Again, it just delays the claim for nothing. This might have been that one-off mistake, and I'm hoping that's all it is. But like I said, I've seen it twice, probably in 5 years. I'm just hoping it's not getting bigger. But I do want to put that one out there, just because, again, we see a very common lack of attention, lack of double checking, and then these additional delays that get caused in the file that's not necessary. Your own delays, again, VA causes your backlog. So that's one reason. I'm trying to help you out. Just trying to help you out. Hey, so I appreciate you for sticking around for the video here. Been a longer video than usual, but yeah, I had a bunch of errors back here. I wanted to point them out. I want to make the system smoother, and I felt one way to do that for a video was to, point all these out. Point these errors out. Veterans, maybe you've seen some of these. Maybe you're witnessing them. Hey, throw in the comments. Let the VA know. Let the VA know what you're seeing. Maybe we can get their attention here at some point, and get some of these hashed out here. Get some training done. Get somebody to do more veteran reader writing focus combination thing again there. Just some training, perhaps. Let's see. Let's see if we can make that difference. I want to make that difference. I was told I could make a difference when I started the VA originally in 2008, and I am still here to make that difference. So, with your help, veterans and VA, I think we can do it. I know we can do it. I know we can. So, thank you everybody for sticking around with me here. We'll look for more videos. I'm pondering the idea of doing 2 videos a week here because there's so much information that comes about. We are very busy though, so I'm kind of balancing the two. I feel like I'm back in my law school days where a pot of coffee, a bunch of Mountain Dew, and I haven't reached for the monster drinks yet, but all come in handy to keep me moving here because, sleep is optional. So, but we'll see. Keep an eye out for that. But again, don't forget to check out the new websites. Continue watching at least every Tuesday where we'll have one video here. If you got a topic, again, anytime, throw in the comments. I'll do my best to put a video together so you can see what I'm looking at and how I understand it. And then we can compare notes and go back and forth in conversation. I'm not very good at responding to comments, and I apologize for that, but still always throw them in there. I do read them, and maybe I'll put it in the video at some time just to help explain more than I probably could when I type it out. But ultimately, again, thank you everybody for your support. Thank you, VA. Thank you, veterans. And thank you for everybody who's watching. I'll see you again in the next video.